involved in these meetings today, or what exactly has he been doing yesterday and today?
So he's been in meetings. I was scheduled to meet with him today in the Oval Office. So he's been meeting with his senior staff. He's been meeting with a staff. I think some of you may have seen him when the First Lady of Ukraine was visiting with our First Lady. I believe you saw him very briefly. So he's just been very busy dealing with the issues of the American people and meeting with his staff and senior staff the last 2 days.
I noticed on the president's schedule the last 2 days, there have been no public events. Is he resting after the large international trips?
The president's been busy. I'll let Karine speak to the president's schedule, but the president's been quite busy. Just because you don't see something necessarily on the public schedule doesn't mean that there's not a lot of work going on.
The mayors of New York City and D.C. are calling for more federal resources to assist with asylum seekers who are being bused to those cities from Texas and Arizona. They've had thousands of people arriving over the past couple of weeks. Mayor Bowser here in D.C. said that these people are being tricked. What federal resources is the White House preparing, if any, to deliver to these cities and other cities that are now dealing with an increase of asylum seekers?
So I can tell you, Karen, that we have been in touch with both of their administrations, but we have been in touch with Mayor Bowser's office, and we have been in touch with Mayor Adams' office.
Could be resources that can be given.
Right now, I can tell you that FEMA is the lead agency on this, and so I would point you to them on any more information or details that they can provide.
And then on the other end of it, some advocates say that the governors of these states are using these migrants as pawns. Has the White House reached out to those governors and said, don't send these people to these cities on the East Coast?
So as you know, we're in constant communication and contact with governors just across the country. I don't have anything specific to that, that the specific on migrants being shipped to other states.
Is there a message from the White House about
I think
what
it's,
they should
I
be doing
think
or not doing?
we have, this has come up before, I believe, a couple of months ago, and I think we believe it's shameful that some governors are using migrants as a political tool, as a political play, when we should be making sure that we're doing everything that we can to help folks who are coming into this process in a legal way, and making sure that we do this in a safe way and respectful way. And I think it's shameful that that is happening.
That homeless shelters in D.C. were filling up, and groups were getting overwhelmed by these buses that the governors of Texas and Arizona are sending here full of migrants. How significant is this influx? How many people?
Well, this is a very significant issue. We have for sure called on the federal government to work across state lines to prevent people from really being tricked into getting on buses. We think they're largely asylum seekers who are going to final destinations that are not Washington, D.C. I worked with the White House to make sure that FEMA provided a grant to a local organization that is providing services to folks. But I fear that they're being tricked into nationwide bus trips when their final destinations are places all over the United States of America.
Yeah, thank
Jamie,
you.
let me get my pen. I dropped it. Because often when you ask me questions,
Yeah.
I have to write them down. Go ahead.
Don't be nervous.
Oh, no. I am always nervous when you're calling.
Thank you, John. I have two questions on.
The average household uses 17% of their electricity for air conditioning. That would mean the average household uses 1,870 kilowatt hours per year for air conditioning. If that average household plugged in electric cars, do you know how much more electricity they would use in comparison to the air conditioning that air conditions their whole house?
No, but again, I would emphasize it will
Well, let me help you with
overall.
that first before we go on, because the numbers are important. It would take 4 times as much electricity to charge the average household's cars as the average household uses on air conditioning. So if we reach the goal by 2030 that Biden has of 50% adoption instead of 100% adoption, that means the average household would use twice as much electricity charging one of their cars as they would use for all of the air conditioning that they use for the entire year.
How is Biden doing compared to his predecessors?
One way we look at that, Jake, we ask folks, do you believe Joe Biden has the right priorities? Okay, so right now, only 31% say yes, President Biden has the right priorities. 68% say no. This is up 10 points since we scored this last year in the Biden presidency. So now let's take a look at how that 31% who say yes, he has the right priorities stacks up against his modern era predecessors. Look at that. Not very well. 31% for Biden is clearly the low watermark of all Trump, Obama, Bush, and Clinton on this score, Jake.
You on this. Wendy Sherman said last week it's in Iran's best interest to make a deal. They would get sanctions relief, they would improve their economy and sell their oil again, and the world needs their oil so they can get a good price for it. So I'm asking, is the White House viewing sanctions relief for Iran as a way to bring down gas prices?
The administration is looking at a return to the JCPOA, the Iran deal, to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
So how should we understand her statement then? Because the president's whole strategy when he was on his Middle East tour was to counter Iran, but her language makes it seem like maybe, they're not so bad if they bring down gas prices, which has been hurting the president in the polls, obviously.
Well, look, I mean, there's obviously a potentially tangential benefit should they sign into the deal, which would include potentially sanctions relief, which would include obviously some economic breathing space for them to do things potentially on the oil market. But again, Jackie, that's not the purpose here. The purpose is to try to prevent them from having a